morning. Hope you guys are doing well. I am recording this video as a way to prep for this coming Sunday, which is Memorial Day. The lesson that we're going to be diving into this week is going to be a really good one. I think it's going to confront some of our students if they're willing to listen, and it's the parable of the rich fool. So before I dive into the lesson, a couple weeks back I said, hey, we're going to be going strong on Sunday mornings through the summer. However, you guys as leaders, you have the opportunity to let me know, hey, I need to maybe take a step back. And some of you have already let me know due to traveling plans and other things that you feel like, hey, I need to take a step down for the summer. And that's great. I hope that you're able to use this time to be able to rest and recuperate. If you are able to continue to go throughout the summer, we'd love to have you join us. I just would like to know so we can make any adjustments to the groups as needed. The second thing about the summer is that we will be doing this different summer curriculum. I shared with several this past Sunday. I thought we were going to be starting it this week, but after going back and looking at the list of weeks, we will be starting that officially in June. Will be the first week that we do that, and our goal with that the study will be called Different, and that Jesus didn't just make us different. We weren't just made to be different, but we were saved to be different. And difference comes in two different ways. We are to be different. We are to stand out from the world in what we believe and what our convictions are. And then we are also to live differently. And so over the course of 9 weeks, we'll be looking at this idea of being different. What's it mean to be set apart from the world, to be different from the world, and yet not be weird. Some people will be like, oh, well, I'm supposed to be different. And no, we're not supposed to be different in a weird way. There should be something about our lives that is attractive, that people go, okay, what is the hope within you? And I want to ask you, because it just seems like you've got something that I need. And yet there will be people who are haters and don't like that. So we'll be doing that over the summer, and there will be a portion of that students will be able to follow along on social media each day. We'll have a different component that we'll release via our social media. And so we're encouraging students, if they are on social media, they can follow us on Instagram and on Facebook. We'll be posting those two different platforms. If you have students that would like to follow along throughout the summer but are not on social media, we can also make those materials available in a printed form so they can follow along that way. So as far as this week, what I've done is I've made some adjustments to the lesson, and I've reposted that. If you click on this week's prep, and you look at that lesson, you'll see that I've made a couple of adjustments. As far as an opening illustration, they say that you should play this song, Don't Waste Your Life by Lecrae. And I'll tell you this, about 10 years ago, this song was incredible. I don't know if it still is incredible from a musical genre perspective. You are welcome to play that song. What I have also done is I've given an or. You can also open up with a different way and maybe open up with an activity where you ask everyone to give you ideas for what would you need in order to have a full or meaningful life for a year. Okay, so for example, I want to go on 3 vacations, or I need to drive a BMW, own a boat, need to buy a new outfit every month. What are the things you need to make life meaningful and full? Maybe it's, we need to, the newest video game software with whatever. Okay, then I want you as the leaders to help them try to understand, okay, how much do you think those things cost? Maybe you give them a rude awakening, like, okay, you want to drive a brand new BMW? Okay, that's 80 grand, it's not just $10,000. And then ask them, hey, what kind of a job do they think they need to work to be able to earn that money? And so you're really helping them kind of think, okay, I gotta focus on earning this amount of money to be able to have this kind of stuff. And if I get that kind of stuff, then my life should be full. And then you finally ask them this question. If they had all the stuff, would they actually be happy? Would they finally be happy? And then I've attached 2 quotes. One is by the comedian Jim Carrey, and one is also by Super Bowl winning quarterback Tom Brady. Jim Carrey says, I think everyone should get rich and famous and do everything they ever dreamed so that they can see it's not the answer. I've attached a question, as well as Tom Brady said, several years back, he says, why do I have 3 Super Bowl rings and still think there's something greater out there for me? I mean, maybe a lot of people would say, hey man, that is what it is. I reached my goal, my dream, my life. And me, I think, God, it's gotta be more than this. I mean, this isn't all it's cracked up to be. And so with both of these, we see two people who are incredibly successful. They've done things extremely well. They've earned lots of money, lots of fame, lots of prestige. They got everything that you would think would make them happy. And yet both of them say, I'm still searching. I'm still looking. And Jesus goes after this point in his passage in Luke chapter 12, verses 13 through 21 with the parable of what he calls the rich fool. This is different than the story of the rich young ruler, which is a true story. As you're kind of preparing, this is different. This is a parable, a fake story, or a story that Jesus used to illustrate this big idea. And that is that Jesus wants us to be generous, not greedy. In fact, the big idea for the day is that Jesus wants us to be generous with what we do have, not greedy for what we don't have. Okay, and what I've done in the lesson is I put that at the top of every single page so we can continually give that out. One of the key things I want to challenge you on as a teacher is this idea of having a key takeaway the student can walk away with. Okay, imagine if I were to give you a number sequence like 4, 7, 23, 17, 85, 72, and then ask you to give it back to me in order, and you'd be like, I don't know, I don't even remember what the first number was. Or if I gave you this sequence, 44, 44, 44, 44, 44. Can you tell me the number that I told you? Of course, it's 44, right? The idea of having this one idea that we continually go back to, we keep hitting, we keep going after it, we keep saying it, and as we keep hearing it, there's a better chance we're going to retain that and be able to dwell on that later. So that's our big idea for today. Jesus wants us to be generous with what we do have, not greedy for what we don't have. And he tells us this story of the rich fool. And as normal, read through the story. I would read through the entire story and then go back to kind of the three big ideas. The first big idea is that life is about more than what you just own. And this has to do with the issue of greed. We really want to try to draw this idea out that we naturally fall into greed. And so one of the questions is like, why is greed a negative characteristic? What are some of the consequences of an unstopped greed? Where are some areas where you see people as being greedy? Is greed okay? And ultimately what Jesus wants us to know is that life is about more than just what you own. It's not just about material things. Jim Carrey said that, Tom Brady said that, people who have arrived said that, Warren Buffett, right? How much money? Just a little more, right? So, what else could life be about? What could be below the surface? I love this question that it asks. It says, is it possible to have lots of possessions but not be greedy? Why or why not? Again, Jesus shares this story. His heart is not that he doesn't want people to have money or to have stuff, but he's about our heart. And in the story, the rich fool, he's like, well, I have all this stuff, so what should I do with it? Well, I'm just going to build bigger barns. But then his life is required of him that night. It doesn't matter if he builds the bigger barn, he's dead. Once you die, you don't get to enjoy your stuff anymore. And so could it be that that life is about more than just the material things that we own? The second big idea is that being blessed does not give you the right to just be a spectator, right? That when you receive this blessing, you shouldn't just sit on the sideline. You shouldn't just sit out and do nothing. And in this, here's a great question. Like, what are some of the specific ways God has blessed you? Have the students think about that. They might not think about it specifically, but like most of our students all of our students don't really need to worry about where they're going to sleep at night. They don't need to worry about where their next meal is going to come from. They don't need to worry about, hey, I'm going to be naked. Maybe they worry about, hey, did I wear that outfit a week ago? But we're going to have clothes. All of our needs are going to be met. Frankly, most of our students don't have to ask a question like, will there be Wi-Fi? We've been blessed. And so what are some of the ways that God has blessed us? And then what are some of the ways that we can use those blessings to minister to others? Because at the end of the day, that's what God wants. He wants us to be generous. Generous is this idea of being willing to give from what I have. Generosity is not just for people who have a lot. Generosity is a state of your heart that all of us can have. A poor person can be generous, a rich person can be generous. Generosity is a state of the heart. It's a state of like having an open hand. If my hand stays open, people can put things in my hand, people can take things out of my hand, and I'm not worried about it. I don't have to live with a closed fist or a closed hand, like I gotta hold on and make sure that no one takes stuff from me. That's what was going on with the rich fool. He was worried that people could get his stuff and it was filling up a barn. So he's like, well, should I give some of this stuff away? No, I'm gonna build a bigger barn and keep holding on to it. And yet Jesus is saying, look, don't just stay on the side being a spectator. Be willing to be generous. So what are some of the ways we've been blessed? The last question I think is really good. When have you benefited from another person's generosity? What did you learn from that experience? Who's been generous to you? How are they generous? And what did it teach you about being generous? God doesn't want us to just be a spectator. He wants us to be generous with what we do have, not just greedy for what we don't. And then finally, the last, their kind of big idea is that earthly wealth without a rich relationship with God is foolish. Again, if we worship materialism, if we worship stuff instead of Jesus, we're gonna mess up. And that's why he wants us to have generous hearts. A generous heart trusts that Jesus will be enough for us, and that if people take from us or if we have to give our stuff away, Jesus will continually be enough, and our heart will be set with Jesus. Versus a greedy heart is worried about what's going to happen tomorrow. A greedy heart worries about the future, worries about, do I have control over this? Am I gonna be able to manipulate and control my future outcome? No, I need to be in control. I need to hold on to this. I need to be greedy and get all I can, because it's up to me ultimately how my life is going to turn out. And so it encourages us to look directly at verse 21. What is a rich relationship with God, and what is the evidence will you see in your life if you have that kind of relationship with God? As we move to the kind of the application, what are we going to do with this? Remember, God wants us to be generous with what we do have, not greedy for what we don't have. There's two key questions. One is like, what are some specific ways you can guard yourself against greed? What are some ways that you can make sure you don't end up with a greedy heart? But then also, at the end, God's goal is not that you're poor, but that you are healthy. Right? That's what generosity does. It makes us healthy. Based on today's lesson, how has your view on money and wealth been impacted? How can we see it maybe as being more of a tool? And that's what I want to leave you guys with. Helping our students see that money is a tool that can be used. And just like tools, if I pick up a hammer when I don't need a hammer, it's not good. If I pick up a trowel when I don't need a trowel, it's not good. But when I pick up a hammer, when I need to pound in a nail, that's exactly the right tool. At that point, I don't need a screwdriver. Money is just one of the tools that God gives us to use, right? Money is able to buy clothes, it's able to buy food, it's able to provide for our needs. But money is able to go above that. Money is able to bring us some kind of entertainment value, right? We can buy video games and go shopping for brand new clothes and go to sporting events and go to concerts, things like that. Money can do that. Money can be used to build things, right? Money can be used to be invested and build wealth and receive a return on our investment. Money can be used to support missionaries. Money can be used to support the church. Money can be used to help someone who has a poor outcome all of a sudden achieve things that their family couldn't afford for them, right? Kind of like going to camp, right? Some of our families, they don't have the money to be able to afford camp. And so by people being generous and giving money can allow those people to go to camp. But again, money is merely the tool that gets us to where we want to go. Money shouldn't be the end goal. And that's what we want to help our students see. Money is a tool that's good, and yet it's not the end thing. So rather than seeing money as the be-all, end-all, that I need to be greedy and get as much money as possible, money should be, hey, I've been blessed, and I can be generous with the money that I have, knowing that God will continually give me enough. This is why it says in the Lord's Prayer, it says, give us this day our daily bread. Give us enough that we aren't out begging. Don't give us so much that we become greedy and think we've arrived. Give us today what we need for today, and allow us to then be generous by giving away our wealth, giving away our money, giving away our forgiveness, giving away our time, giving away our relational being, and help us to be generous people. Because God wants us to be generous with what we do have, not greedy for what we don't have. I hope it's awesome, and I will see you guys Sunday.